Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Run It Back podcast. We've got episode number 19 coming in hot today. Before I give you too much detail, I probably should introduce my co-host, the man behind the buttons, DL. How are we today?
Sugar, I'm good. Mate, what a weird week it's been. But I'm actually really glad we get to drop another really great interview today. This week we caught up with an Australian MMA fighter and Aftershock champion about learning the hard way, finding love and upping his whole life from Perth, and starting a new one in Bali. But Snags, it's been a wild week.
It's been a weird week. I have not drinking any Coronas, but it is raging havoc on the world at the moment, and it's unfortunately postponed some fights.
Yeah, we've got three postponed UFC fights. Dana White was scrambling hard to find some venues, and they did find a solution on Indian reservation land at a casino, and I think it would have been...
That's what we're hoping for.
It would have been a dope setup seeing that and people coming from far and wide to do it. Yeah.
Imagine the chaos. No laws. The Snags and DL just getting on a flight straight there, direct.
Mate, it'd be crazy. Were they still only allowed to have, like, I know the new rule was, and the thing that kind of stuffed them up in the end was Trump saying we can only have 10 people gathering at one time. And I don't think you can run a UFC event with 10 people in a production room.
Colby got signed. Trump would have let anything go.
But a part of me thought that Colby was signing because he kind of knew that it would be cancelled. Yeah, you think because when Tyron went live on his IG and it was calling him out, and I'm like, mate, this is on. This is so on. So
I was excited about it,
mate. I was super excited. I don't think I was. I dropped Ferguson and Khabib out of my mind for a second just to focus on Woodley versus Colby Covington. It didn't occur. They've moved a fight onto the Cage Warriors 113 fight, which is crazy.
Glad you brought that up. Positive news coming out this week.
Yeah, so that's behind closed door as well.
Yeah, man, I heard it's actually John Phillips versus Dusko Tudrojovic. I think he's going to name. I don't have Statman on the podcast to give me the names, but I'll tell you what, mate, that card's looking pretty good. Mate, I guess what's there. I should get your prediction on the main event there. We got Morgan Shari versus Darko Benovic for the featherweight title.
The vacant interim featherweight title.
Who are you feeling?
Since you dropped this on me like 30 seconds before we recorded this podcast, I've done zero research into both fighters. So I'm going to just take Benovic.
Well, let's go old school running back. I'm just going Morgan to go against you.
I like it. Mate, I'm actually a bit of a Mason Jones fan myself. So I'm actually looking forward to that. We've got three belts on the line. So 3 belts. Yeah, which is really cool. So that's on UFC Fight Pass. That should be pretty cool. Mate, maybe we should get into this interview today. Who do we have on the podcast?
This week on the podcast, we've got Ruthless Ryan Robertson. Ryan, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Mate, so what's been going on this week? Here you're back in Bali now after your fight. How's the week been so far?
Yeah, good. I think it's been a bit hotter this week. Been back at training, doing extra training sessions, so I'm pretty wrecked every day, but it's been good to be back and get back into it.
I wish I was over in Bali. Probably not training with you because I'd get absolutely slaughtered, but it would be a nice little holiday for myself. So, mate, awesome to have you on. I guess we'll throw over to DL. He's got a couple of questions for you.
Mate, I want to start a little bit heavy if that's okay. A few days ago, you posted on Instagram. It was pretty full on to see that you're passionate to get back in the cage, and I just want to read it back to you and get your thoughts on it. Over the years of my career, I've lost my mentality towards fighting. The mentality where I train and enter the cage with a mindset of no mercy. In the years of coaching, I've become selfless, but to achieve greatness, you need to be selfless when it comes to progression and growth. I tend to want to help others over myself, which has spilled into the way I fought. Moving forward in my career, I have slowly found a way back to that fighter mentality that I succeed in. The in me is making its way out of the shadows and into the world again. When I step back into the cage, it will be with my old mindset of a fighter I was, with a new set of skills to go along with it. It has taken a long time for me to find the way back from being a fighter and not a coach. To be selfish in my pursuit for fighting, I'm not sure when I'll enter the cage at this moment, but when I do, I'm coming with no mercy. Dude, that's heavy.
Yeah, I was in a dark place when I wrote that. I was, trying to find the fighter in me again and really bring him out. So, where do I start with that?
Sorry, mate, I did say it was heavy.
Yeah. No, it's cool. Probably the easiest part is to start at the beginning. Is when I first started fighting. You know, I used to get into a lot of street fights and stuff. Not because I wanted to fight or anything. Just I don't know. I think a lot of people. I had that face that people wanted to punch. So, but I didn't mind obliging in some fisticuffs. I enjoyed it, and I really didn't care about people's well-being or anything like that. So when I first started fighting, that was the mentality that I had. I had the mentality that I'd have a beer with them after. I didn't really care. But when I was fighting, I physically wanted to hurt the person. I wanted them to leave the cage or ring and go, I don't want to fight him ever again. Wow. Like that was the mentality that I had as a fighter when I first started. And then I became a coach a few years down the track, and that made me put all my effort. Like I wanted to see everyone else succeed, and so I had to put everyone else first. And slowly, you know, just like in the post, I became selfless, and I always wanted to help my team, my students. I wanted to help them before I helped myself. I'd even put myself in, you know, like I'd take short notice fights and stuff like that, just to get the experience to, you know whether we should do this for other fighters that are fighting under me and stuff like that. And then, I just felt like every time I entered the ring, it was more of a very playful me, like a friendly, playful me, rather than a person that's going in there to hurt someone. And you know, I'm going in there for no mercy, and I'm going to come out the victor. So, you know, finally finding that guy, that person I used to be, and obviously with a whole new set of skills, because moved to Bali MMA, or moved to Bali, training out of Bali MMA, you know, a stacked coaching team that's full of knowledge. So, you know, I'm just getting better. So I'm looking forward to eventually getting back in the ring. Who knows when that is with everything that's going on. We were taking a break from fighting anyway for a couple of months to improve my skill and fitness and strength and, you know, my overall game. And in that time, I'm like really focusing on my mindset and working that back to where it should be. And also, who knows when I step back into the cage with this virus going on and affecting the whole world.
That's crazy.
But yeah,
probably a good time to take it back and concentrate on the mindset and the training. That's for sure. You got some time up your sleeves.
Definitely.
Pretty heavy in terms of like what you've gone through to where you've come to now, and it's awesome, I guess, to hear the coaching you coming out. But I guess the story for you, do you want to let us know where it started? Like, when did you first start training and how you fell in love with fighting or MMA?
Well, like I said, I used to get into a lot of street fights when I was younger, from the ages of like 16 to 20, 21. Talking to I found a UFC DVD. That's what I did. Just randomly come across it. And so, I like fighting, so I grabbed it. I think it cost me $5. And it was like UFC 2 or 3 or something. So I started watching that. I was like, man, that's awesome. I'd love to do like something like that. Started watching heats and showed my uncle, and my uncle goes, oh, I've got a mate who does that. I'll introduce you to him. So, which was awesome. He got in contact with him. It was like a person he hadn't spoken to in years, but managed to get hold of him, and he was still doing it. So I got to go train with him and his coach, and obviously their team and stuff like that. I thought that was awesome. I'd come home limping every day, but like it was great. It was good. I ended up having my first fight after 2 training sessions. Signed up for a fight. Oh God. Had 2 training sessions and then jumped in the ring. I was hungover for that fight to a mate's dad's 40th. And I was like, no, I'm fighting in the morning, because the fight started at 10 a.m. I was like, no, I'm fighting in the morning. I can't drink, you know, like I just can't do it. That's not how we do it, and this and that. And then my mates egged me on, and I finally had 1 beer, which turned into 2, which turned into many. And then I rocked up at the venue, and I was hungover. I think I warmed up for about 30 seconds because I was getting gassed. And then saw the guy, my opponent, and I didn't know who it was till the day. And I looked at him, he was like a young kid, and I was like, oh yeah, I got this. This is all right. And then he took his shirt off, and he had like a 20-pack of, and I was like, shit, it's going to be harder than I thought. And I never got nervous. So I was never nervous about getting hit or hurt or anything like that. Wasn't even nervous about losing, because I still had a good mindset that I was going to win even if I was hungover. I lost count how many times he kicked me in the leg. I couldn't walk for like a week after that fight. But, yeah, I think that went a round and a half. He got me with a triangle choke. I don't know. Didn't even know I didn't know anything about jiu-jitsu, so I didn't know anything about striking either. I just went in there. But, yeah, and then after that first fight, even though I lost it, I got my butt kicked. I fell in love. I was like, man, this is it. This is what I want to do for as long as I can. You know, and back in those days, I didn't care if I won or I lost or I drew. It was not about that. It was just about the fact that I could go in there, put it all on the line, just test myself, really. Test myself and not get in trouble.
Yeah, so it was more like an outlet for you.
I think so, yeah. I think it was more of an outlet because once I started doing that, I didn't get into fights on street. You know, I got less trouble with, like, I don't know, just doing silly things. And then, yeah, life started going on track. That's where my whole passion drew from.
So once you went from there, I guess, like, how did the training progress? Like, obviously you started taking it a little bit more seriously after the first couple of fights. I guess after two training sessions, you probably done a bit more.
After my first fight, I decided to take it a bit more seriously. So I think I trained for about 3 months. It wasn't long after that first fight that I ended up getting an injury. I got tendonitis in my arm. So I was a bricklayer by trade, and I couldn't even lift up I couldn't lift anything up. Anything that was like 1.5 kilos, it was like it would hurt too much for me to lift. So I had to stop bricklaying. I got a job on the mines. That was 2 weeks on, 1 week off. And then while I was there, so I was still training when I came back on the week off, which was only 2 sessions a week. And then when I went away, I just did fitness. I just ran and did some weights with a friend because I was working with a friend up there. He held some pads for me. He was probably one of the worst pad holders I've ever had, but, you know, he did his best, which was good. That was great. And then I got lined up for another fight. I didn't get lined up for a fight because it was basically it was a show that you would just put your name down. You would come in on the day and then they would match you up.
Shit.
So there was another one going on and I was like, oh yeah, ask my coach, can I do that? He's like, yep, for sure. Because I don't know, I guess he didn't really mind that I was only training 2 times every 3 weeks. But, you know, I was like running every day up when I was working away. And then came back and I did that fight. I actually fought twice that day. I won the first fight with 1 second left in the first round. And then I fought another guy again that day. And I managed to win that one as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then,
2 fights in 1 night. Were you still fighting amateur at that stage or did you turn pro by then?
Yeah. No. That was only my 3rd fight. My coach at the time, he had a baby.
Yeah.
So he actually closed his gym down. So me and one of his other students were sort of lost at the time. So with what to do or where to go. So me and him just trained together for maybe 6 months or something like that. And then I had another fight on an actual, like a big show where you already found out your opponent weeks beforehand, except for me because I took it on a week notice. And then I managed to win that one as well. That was good. I was lucky because I had been training that whole time, so I had developed some sort of skill. Yeah, and then I moved from there. Well, we were just training in his garage, really. And then I went to a kickboxing gym where I trained kickboxing, and then my old coach came back. Well, he came to that gym and started coaching jiu-jitsu, so...
That's awesome. So is that when your first role into jiu-jitsu started? Was it then, or have you been training that previously in the garage?
I only started doing any sort of... I did karate and taekwondo when I was about 5. Other than that, no, I hadn't trained anything till that one day before... when I started, I met my uncle's friend. So he was more of a wrestler, my first coach, and then went to the kickboxing gym, which was good because it worked on my striking and stand-up.
So from there, where were you living at that point? Were you over in Perth still, or...?
Yeah, still living in Perth. I was with my ex-girlfriend at the time. We had bought a house and stuff like that. So, and I was actually back bricklaying by the time I had gone to the kickboxing gym.
As you progress through your story there, you've obviously done a lot in your time in terms of gone pro. You've obviously moved to Bali. You've met your partner who is in MMA as well. So, like, when was the decision to kind of pack up the job and move over to Bali?
Well, we came over for one of my best mates' wedding. Come over to Bali for that. So we thought, well, while we're here, we're going to go just, do a week at Bali MMA. And I always like to train if we go on holidays and stuff like that, just to pick up new skills. And once we trained for a week, we were like, man, what do you think about moving to Bali and training and fighting out of here? And Christy was like, yeah, let's do it. So we spoke to the coaches before we left and asked them, what the goal is with the team and how it works and stuff like that. So they gave us the rundown, and then we said, we'll look at, I think that was like May, we were here for the wedding. And then we said, okay, give us till January next year, we'll move over. That should give us enough time to, get all our finances in order, save some money and things like that. So we didn't let anyone know till about November, just because that was the plan, but we didn't want to say, yes, we were doing it in case like money didn't work out or it just didn't work out in the end. So we just spent that whole time planning and saving and trying to work towards it. And come January, we quit our jobs and jumped on a plane and moved our life to Bali.
And how have you found the lifestyle change in Bali?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It was a pretty rough couple of, probably months to start with, moving over here straight into full-time training for me. Then I got Bali belly a few times. That was not very good, and trying to sort out our lives, like moving here. So we moved here with the idea of what to do. It actually cost a little bit more than we expected, but we had to just sort out our whole life, a house, rent, all those sorts of things, visas and stuff like that. So it was pretty hectic first, actually 6 weeks to be honest, as well as getting sick and stuff. But other than the sickness and sorting out our initial lives, now that we've got it all done, it is amazing. We don't want to leave.
With you and Christy both over there, what's a typical day look when you're just concentrating on your fighting? And Christy had a fight coming up that's been postponed, but obviously she would have been in training camp. How does that look for you two when you're just dedicating both your lives to MMA? Pretty
much the same thing every day. Obviously the classes change, but Monday and Fridays is bar in the morning. Then we have strength and conditioning in the afternoons. Tuesdays and Thursdays, if you've got a fight coming up, Tuesdays and Thursdays, we've got wrestling at 12, or MMA wrestling at 12. And at 6 p.m., we've got the coaches hold pads for us and work more on specifics for the fight that's coming up. And Wednesday is 12 o'clock sparring. And then there is technical drills at 6. And then Saturday, we've got some technical stuff, technical striking in the morning, and then no-gi jiu-jitsu in the morning as well. So that's your minimum of what you have to, that's what's required of the fight team, is minimum. If you can do more classes, then you do more classes. But yeah, other than doing those classes, we're pretty wrecked. So we're either sleeping or eating.
Yeah, mate, the food over in Bali is quite good. So I'm sure you're well fed.
Yeah, we're well fed. We cook a lot. Well, when I say we, Christy cooks a lot of food for us to eat because she can cook. She knows how to make some healthy stuff, and especially when it comes to cutting weight for fights and stuff like that. Going out all the time, it's lovely going out, but you don't know what they're putting in it. I think they put a lot of sugar in a lot of things and stuff like that. So we like to eat at home as well.
Have you seen any health benefits or performance benefits training in Bali?
Well, I'm definitely looking a lot leaner than I ever have. I think it's more beneficial training in Bali than it is back home. Especially with the diet and stuff like that. I don't know, when you're focusing just on training, you tend to focus on everything that comes with your training, which is your food, your recovery, your fitness, and everything really. So I think with us moving here, I've definitely seen the benefits in the both of us, whether it's skill, fitness, diet. Definitely seen benefits of that. as back home, you get caught in those catching up with mates, going out for a drink, doing all those sorts of things.
Yeah, those temptations are hard to avoid, eh?
Especially when you love eating.
Yeah, that's me, baby, all day. So I guess you obviously moved over there with a partner. When did you and Christy meet? And how did you guys meet?
We met a while ago. What was that? I don't know, maybe 2.5 years ago, I think. Yeah, she just messaged me. She messaged me on Facebook, I think, and said, "Hey, look, I'm looking at doing a jiu-jitsu class." And she noticed that I was coaching jiu-jitsu in the mornings at the gym I was working at. So, do you mind if I come down? I've never done it before. And I was like, yeah, obviously, for sure, come down. We'll, because she had some health issues beforehand. I just said, we'll work around it. It's cool. So she come down, she did the jiu-jitsu, she did the Muay Thai class. And after her first session, I walked up to her and I said, "Hey, did you want to fight?" And she's like, "Oh, I don't know if I can because of the health issues and stuff." I was like, "Don't worry, we'll work around it," stuff like that. So we met there and then, I started off as her coach to begin with, and worked on her career, got her in the cage and developed her into where she is today. And yeah, it was probably 6 months in, sort of, I don't know, started seeing each other. Yeah, I would say you'd call it, going out for coffees and stuff like that. And then things just sort of developed from there.
And mate, and jumped on the knee during one of her fights.
Yeah, that was that was one of the scariest things I've ever done.
And it is for all of it.
That was in plan for like 2 or 3 months with Rich Franklin and the producers and all of that. So I was saving for a ring and touching base with them on what I'd like to do and if it was okay. And yeah, and then they were all down for it. Like, it was scary. It was a bonus that she won her fight. She won her fight, and then they're like, "Oh, okay, what we're going to do is So I found out she's going to get a bonus as well before she got awarded it. They're like, "Oh, Rich is going to ask her to come up for a bonus, and then he's going to go, there's one more bonus to give out, and that's where you come in behind her and grab the mic and do your thing." And I was sitting on the side of the ring, outside the ring, and I was walking back and forward, and Mike from Bali MMA was there. So we weren't at Bali MMA at that time, but he had found out somehow. I don't know who told him, but he had found out, and he's like, "Ryan, why are you so nervous?" I'm like, "You don't know." He's like, "Yeah, I do." He's like, "Don't worry, I'll be your new coach. You're good. You got this." And then Christy's opponent, because I was fiddling around with the box, making sure it was in my pocket the right way. So I was pulling it out, looking at it, putting it back in my pocket. And Christy's opponent, Win, she had looked down and saw it in my hand, and she was like, "Hey, Ryan, what's that?" I was like, "Nothing." And she's like, "Oh, yeah." And then she ran off and grabbed her phone. So she knew exactly what it was. And then, yeah, I did it. That was some scary stuff. But it was all worth it.
You talk about how you're never nervous at fights, and then something like that comes up and us blokes just fall apart, eh?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I was trying to not cry in there. I asked Christy, I said, "Christy, did you like what I said?" And she's like, "I can't even remember what you said."
I guess you got it on video then.
Yeah, that was really good. So she had to get her ring resized after that, because I did my best to try and get the right size, but she doesn't wear jewelry, so that was a bit hard. But we got it resized, and then I went and picked it up. So when I went and saw her again to give it to her, I re-proposed and re-said what I had said. She could remember.
Mate, lucky lady getting proposed to twice by the same bloke, that's for sure. You obviously have coached her as well, and you said that you do a lot of coaching as well. So is it hard for you to kind of separate like that coaching element and then being a fighter, and like how do you kind of manage both realms?
When I'm coaching people, I can coach them. Like, I coach them as a coach. It doesn't matter if it's Christy, it doesn't matter if it's a student. You're a student and I'm the coach, and I'm pretty good at that. Even when I corner Christy, I take the emotion out of it. It's a game, it's a strategy, and we've got to figure out how we win, And then when I become like I said in my post, I thought I was okay at, switching back to that fighter mentality or that fighter attitude, and obviously I'm not. So I thought I did well, but looking back, I haven't been doing that good. Now the coaches at Bali MMA, even when I moved here, it was like I was still in a coach's mentality. I was, still people were having trouble with things. I was happy to help and stuff like that. So the coaches pulled me aside and had a word and said, "Man, you're here for you. You're not here to coach anyone else, and you're here to focus on yourself and grow yourself as an athlete, as a fighter." So that helped me realizing where I was mentally and stuff like that. So and that was another part of why I did the post, and that I could, sort of my eyes were open a bit more now, and I got to start pulling it back and be a bit more selfish with my time and focus on myself.
Yeah, awesome. Is there any specific parts of your game that you want to work on? Obviously you said the mental side's for one, but anything specific in the ring?
Probably my striking defense would be one of the main things that I'd want to work on. Only because I know I can hold my own in the jiu-jitsu wrestling side of things, and I know I can hold my own on the offense of striking. My defense is where it lacks a bit. I take a lot of punches only because I generally can absorb them and keep, not let it faze me at all. But yeah, that's probably one of the big things I want to work on is my defense in my striking, as well as, we always want to work on everything in our whole game. But that would be probably my number one thing. Oh, and fitness.
Mate, we're all trying to work on our fitness 24/7 every. I am struggling every day.
We take a weekend off and we're already unfit.
Mate, tell me about it. So you've obviously had a fair few fights. DL and I were looking at a doozy one that we saw on the gram of you versus Braden Graham, where you won with that Darce choke.
Yep.
Do you want to talk us through that? I think there was a bit where you had him on the ground, he got up and kind of chased you for a bit, knocked him down again. Ref probably should have stopped it a bit earlier.
Yeah.
But, mate, looked like a banging fight.
Yeah. That was one of my funnest fights. Not because I won, but because it was, I don't know. It just was a fun fight. I'd fought him previously. I won by decision, which I thought I had won that. It was close, but I thought I had won that. And then going into the second one, I was like, in my mindset, I was like, yeah, I know I can beat this. I know I can beat this guy. Man, he looked ready in that fight, that second fight on Aftershock. So I was actually a bit nervous for that one. I like throwing a head kick. So he sort of ducked into the head kick, which dropped him, and then I tried to jump on him, but he pulled guard straight away. I sort of kicked him in the legs a few times, and then I was like, oh yeah, you know what, stuff this, I'm here to strike. I wanted to strike, so I let him up. Walking away, silly, I was only lucky to catch him in the corner of my eye as I turned around, and he was like right there, which was just reflex to hook, which actually caught him super flush. But then he come back, he kept fighting, and then he kneed me in the solar plexus, slowed me down a bit. But yeah, then it was just a good fight. Going into that third round, I think I clenched up with him. I'm normally pretty good in the clinch, but he was hammering me with some punches. And I was also tired, so I thought I'd shoot myself and took him down. And then once I was on top of him, I felt like I was strong. I felt like I was based. I felt like I was just like that one step ahead, no matter where it was going. So, and then I managed to punch him into a Darce choke, which worked out pretty well. That was a super fun fight, super good, super fun. He's a good bloke as well. We talked afterwards and friends now on Facebook and stuff like that. So we keep in contact.
Yeah, nice. Wetsia, I know you talked about it in your post as well, like you're not sure when you're going to step back into the cage, but have you got future plans already kind of mapped out?
Nah, not at the moment. I the plan was to take 2.5 months off from fighting. It was just take 2.5 months to really develop myself in all aspects of fighting. I didn't even think about, my mentality wasn't a part of that at the time. I sort of realized that after the first week back into training. Then working on that. But yeah, it was still 2.5 months before I wanted to look at getting matched for a fight, add another 6 weeks on top of that. So I don't know, maybe June or something like that would be nice. So hopefully all the fight shows are up and running around that time, and I can get matched. And normally I'm the person who matches my own fights. So now I'm stepping back from that. I have nothing to do with matching my own fights anymore. So that'll be a bit of a stress relief. And promoters ask me, "Will you fight this person?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course."
And would that fight be on Eternal or?
I don't know. I know Eternal's having a fight show in June, or they plan to have a fight show in June. So that would be pretty cool to fight then. And I know the UFC's the day after in Perth as well. So providing they can have spectators at the UFC, it'd be pretty cool to fight on Saturday night and I don't know, basically go out for a few drinks and then head to the UFC in the morning.
That'd be really nice. Before we let you go, and we do appreciate your time, we do a lot of predictions on our podcast, and we'd love to get our guests to give us a little bit of insight on what they think. The one that everyone's talking about at the moment is we're hoping that it goes through is Tony Ferguson and Khabib. Now, does that excite you, that fight?
I cannot wait for that fight. I'm normally pretty good at predictions.
Yeah, nice.
But this one is a hard one because I can see both of them winning. The way I see Khabib winning is the way he normally wins. But it'll be like a 5-round fight. It won't be finished. And then the way I see Ferguson winning is he's on the bottom and he's throwing elbows. He cuts Khabib and it gets doctor stoppage. That's the two ways I see it playing out. I hope Ferguson wins though.
Made a lot of people
massive if he does to beat that streak.
Oh yeah. I'm pumped for that fight.
Well, we really do appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
No, absolutely. And look, we can't wait to see you in the cage again.
Awesome. I really appreciate being on and you guys having me. It's really good. Thank you so much. All right. See ya.